Everyone, we now rise back from our recess for the joint committee with the fiscal affairs and R.E.D.P. and gaming. We apologize for the extended delay. We were still finalizing the amendments that one of the members will be introducing today. And so with that, we are still under discussion. And at this time, I would like to recognize Senator Carl King Neighbors.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would like to offer a few amendments. I'll go over them briefly for the committee and for the viewing public to understand what we were trying to do with this. Under section 1, under findings and purpose, page 4, there's additional language inserted to the following paragraph. Additionally, this act intends to authorize a public debt not to exceed $1 million for each senatorial, the first and second senatorial.
I'm sorry, I may have the wrong document. I don't see what you're reading.
Okay.
Can we take a short recess?
Short recess. Back from recess, and Senator Carl still has the floor.
Thank you. So for amendment, under section A, under A, section 1, findings and purpose, page 3, line 17, after the word default, the next sentence is amended to read, the the debt amount authorized in this act is $15 million, which is 15 million of which not more than 13 million for line of credit from MPLT, and additionally not more than 2 million loan debt from MPLT to the first and second senatorial districts for CIP projects. Um, on page 3, line 19, we've replaced 15 with 13 to reflect the change in the line of credit. The same change was made to page 4, line 5. On page 4, line 11 is amended to read each fiscal year as security and guarantee payment for the $13 million line of credit and $2 million loan from MPLT to the first and second senatorial districts until the line of credit and loans are retired fully and satisfied. Page 4, line 15 is amended to read guaranteed payment for we struck out 15 and put $13 million line of credit. It is also appropriate to authorize the line of credit we struck out $15 million to be used to cover advance payments of existing and future EDA CIP projects. We've removed and potentially the CI 702 CIP annual projects during the 7-year term of this line of credit. On page 4, sentence beginning on line 19 is amended to read, additionally, this act intends to authorize a debt not to exceed 1 million loan each for the first and second senatorial districts for eligible projects consistent with public debt authorization. On page 5, the paragraph beginning on line 2 is amended to read, for the foregoing reasons, the legislature finds that the 15 million debt authorization, of which 13 million is a line of credit with MPLT, is in the best interest of our people and our Commonwealth, and authorizes the executive branch to enter in such agreement as required on terms and conditions by MPLT. Additional language includes and 2 million of this debt authorization is reserved for the first and second senatorial districts infrastructure projects of 1 million each to each senatorial districts. The legislature also finds this reserved allocation of the two senatorial districts is in the best interest of the Commonwealth as a whole. Moving on to page 5, paragraph beginning on line 12 is amended to read under section 101, debt authorization pursuant to NMI Constitution Article 10, section 3 of the CNMI legislature. Public debt not to exceed $15 million, $13 million is a public debt, an obligation of the Marianas Public Land Trust for Governor Arnold I. Palacios through the Department of Finance to enter a revolving line of credit with MPLT and $2 million debt authorization, 1 million for each senatorial district to fund infrastructure projects. The amount of $15 million was stricken from this section. Further language that was removed is this debt authorization shall apply to a line of credit for autonomous agencies under section 104A, line of credit of 2.5 for the first and second senatorials. Next amendment is under page 6, line 3 is amended to read under section 102, line of credit and loan is added. On page 7, the sentence on line 3 is amended to read letter F, the interest rate of the line of credit shall be 5.5 per annum. There is an additional letter, subsection G, my apologies. The annual interest rate from the loan agreed upon between the two parties from the first and second senatorial district shall not exceed 7.5% and shall be deducted from the loan up front. On page 7, my apologies, sentence beginning on line 4 is amended to read, because of the $2 million loan and the 13 million revolving line of credit collectively is a public debt. I think that needs to be corrected to I. No, we're correct. On page 9, line 11 is amended to read, we have struck out 15 and exceed $13 million for future interest income distribution into the.
Sorry, to be clear, so Amendment 11 will be I, right?
Correct. So
Or H?
H. So the 11th, because we've added G, so G, what was G, $2 million and $13 million line of credit will now become H. On page 9, line 11, we've stricken out the number 15 million and inserted 13 million. And on page 10, beginning on line 3, the amendment removed 702 CIP projects from the legislation. And then we did strike out all of section B and what was section C, which basically, most of it, which basically itemized, included the CIP projects into this line of credit.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, and I'm sorry, colleague, King Neighbors, I think I still have the wrong amendments. Can you please go back to amendment number 13?
Okay, so on amendment number 13, it's on section 104, page 10, beginning on line 3, is amended to read, additional EDA funded, and we were struck out 702 CIP projects.
Okay, next one.
Okay, and then if there are any other,
Okay.
yeah, so that's due.
I think I have the right one, yeah.
Okay. So for B, we struck out the language that referred to possible uses of future CIP projects into this. So what language was added as left is any future EDA funded CIP projects for the first and second senatorial district shall be covered by a line of credit as provided in this act. On section C of the same page, if there we have removed EDA funded CIP 702 CIP, that was stricken from that paragraph, as well as line of credit agreement bridge financing loan from MPLT. The language left over is the legislative delegations through resolutions will identify the infrastructure projects to be funded. In addition, notwithstanding any provisions or law contrary, the MPLT investment interest to be transferred to the general fund after U2 loan is paid in full is hereby earmarked to pay the respective loans. And further provided that as a condition of the loan participation, that the appropriate respective municipal officials shall agree to be bound by the MPLT terms and conditions in writing, such as through a memorandum of understanding, contract, or promissory note, including but not limited to interest rates charged by MPLT.
Can I? I'm sorry, maybe I missed it. Can I get a motion to?
So move.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, a motion was made and seconded. Under discussions, I think we may have to include, maybe have a subsidiary motion to clarify the term of the loan, just so that it's not a 7-year loan and that the annual interest on this 7-year loan will be factored in as one deduction in the beginning. Sorry, fiscal analyst just inquired about the term of the loan, because if it's a 7-year loan, that's a five, whatever interest rate, multiplied by the term of the loan. So at this time, we'll take a short recess. At this time, we now rise back from recess. It is now 1:54 p.m. and we're under discussion. So, discussion on the motion to amend made by Senator Carl King Neighbors. Recognize Senator Babauta.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The original intention of this bill was to propose a line of credit for EDA projects so that the Garapan revitalization and the Oliai Sports Complex and other projects here funded through an EDA grant, a one-time EDA grant that was given to the CNMI to the tune of 98 million. That was the original intention of the line of credit that we are debating on now. A line of credit is similar in concept to a credit card where it lets you borrow a preset limit and you may be charged interest depending on how quickly you repay that what you borrow. First of all, I argue this is a two-subject bill, which is against Article 2, Section 5B, which states in part, a bill shall be confined to one subject bills except for appropriations, because the proposed amendment before us today includes a $1 million loan on top of the line of credit for each of the senatorial districts, so a total of $2 million. Now, some may argue that the bill does not violate that it is not a multiple subject bill, and that it is about a public debt. But it is not solely about public debt, because when the first bill was signed into law on November 20th, 23, the title of that bill says to authorize a revolving line of credit between the CNMI government and the Marianas Public Land Trust in the amount of 15 million with repayment terms, etc. This bill before us in the findings and purpose, there states that the legislature finds that on November 20th, 2023, Governor Arnold I. Palacios signed House Bill 2377, Senate Draft 1, into Public Law 2312 to authorize a revolving line of credit between the Commonwealth Government and the Marianas Public Land Trust in the amount of $15 million with repayment terms. Now this bill has morphed into something that it is not in line with the original intent. Now there's a proposal to decrease the $15 million line of credit to $13 million, and I'll support that. Because in an ideal world, we shouldn't need to borrow to provide for infrastructure projects that improve our facilities for our people. But these funds are sorely needed to move projects forward. But the decrease in the line of credit doesn't really do anything, because in the same proposal, there is a provision for a $2 million loan for Tinian and Rhoda only. Where is the parity in that? Saipan is excluded from that loan. What are the CIP projects to be funded by this loan? Have the projects been identified ahead of time? It should be identified now in order to mitigate a diversion of funds for project not as intended. The proposed amendment to include $2 million loan for Tinian and Rhoda is a different subject from a line of credit, because they are calculated differently. They are amortized. The loan will be amortized differently than a line of credit. With a line of credit, borrowers can borrow and pay it off again and again without applying for a new loan. It can be tapped into at any time. The borrower can take money out as needed until the limit is reached. As money is repaid, it can be borrowed again. The interest, just like a credit card, is calculated daily. So if you pay within days, as in this case with the EDA, the interest is minimal. The line of credit that was originally proposed is guaranteed by EDA grant funds. It is secured. The loan is not. By tagging an additional $2 million loan, this increases the government debt and leads to higher interest payments and limits fund availability for other priorities, and furthermore, would impact the MPLT's financial stability in the long run. Ask yourselves, what if another disaster hits the CNMI? What then? This amendment proposes to tie the hands of MPLT by dictating what is the maximum interest they could charge, again, jeopardizing their financial stability. And ultimately, MPLT will either make or break this bill. They can either accept it or they will not come to the negotiation table. These amendments, to include Tinian and Rhoda loans, while potentially beneficial for those islands, could divert funds away from originally planned EDA projects in Saipan. This could lead to delays or reductions in those projects, impacting their intended benefits. I ask you, colleagues, to be reasonable, logical, thoughtful, and remove the $2 million loan in this bill. Please note for the record that I am not against economic development for the municipalities. I want them to prosper and be able to sustain their operations financially, as well as provide for much needed infrastructure projects, excuse me, so that they can enjoy financial independence. I am not against the bill to enter into public debt, but I think this bill has been convoluted with other add-ons, and it should be a clean bill, and the legislature can certainly introduce another bill for the loan intended for Tinian and Rhoda. The overall impact on our economy is uncertain. While the bill aims to stimulate economic development, it is crucial to consider the potential downsides, like increased debt, inflation, and to ensure that the projects funded are sustainable in the long run and does not create further dependence on external funding sources. That is all I have, Mr. Chairman, and I yield at this time.
Thank you, Senator Babalta. Any other members for discussion? If there's none, because this is a joint committee meeting, we're only going to recognize the Fiscal Affairs Committee to take roll on this amendment. And so at this time, I recognize the LA to take roll on the amendment proposed by Senator Carl.
Senator Selena Arbogota.
While I just stated my debate, I do believe that it is important to pass this bill because the line of credit is needed by the administration to move the projects forward, granted by EDA. My vote is yes.
Senator Cara R. King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Corina L. Magofnian.
Yes.
Senator Paul A. Mangonia. Senator Dennis C. Mendiola. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, 5 members voted yes, 1 member is absent.
Thank you, Jolyn. With 5 members voting yes, the amendment is hereby adopted, and we are now back to the main motion, House Bill 2395 HS1. It will be now SS2 or SS2. Discussion on the main motion. If everyone's ready, can I get a motion for the adoption?
Motion to adopt.
All right, a motion was made and seconded. Any discussion on that motion? Ready? Jolyn, can you please take roll?
Senator Selena Arbogota.
Yes.
Senator Cara R. King Neighbors.
Yes.
Senator Corina L. Magofnian.
Yes.
Senator Paul A. Mangonia.
Yes.
Senator Dennis C. Mendiola. Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, 5 members voted yes, 1 member is absent.
We have 5 members voting yes. House Bill 2395 HS1 SS2 is hereby adopted. With that, members, that concludes our new business. Please keep your lines open and your email. Check your emails regularly to sign the committee report prior to tomorrow's deadline to submit the committee report before Tuesday's session. With that, any other discussion or announcements from the members? There's none. Can I get a motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn today's
Second.
All
hearing.
right, motion was made and seconded. If there's no objections, This joint committee meeting is hereby adjourned at 2:04 p.m.